everything.
Alright guys, we are in the very last section, JavaScript and jQuery, JavaScript and the DOM, Document Object Model. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Oh, this is a long one, 16. Alright, cool. I feel like they're kicking this up quite a bit. So we've basically been working only with pure JavaScript, which isn't typically what you'll do. You'll have a lot of HTML and CSS and things like this. So, click on the folder attached to CodeCademy, navigate inside the JS folder, and open main.js. So let's go ahead and open up our JS file. We're going to learn what an alert does. An alert is something that you probably won't use a lot of times, but it's basically a pop-up window that comes up when the alert is called. It's going to run that. You may not see it in here because of the way this is. I probably have a pop-up blocker blocking it also. So, but that's basically what alert does. A little pop-up that says, hey, hello, until you click OK. So we're going to jump back into the index.html. Oh, it looks like we haven't linked to it. So we're going to write a script tag before the closing body tag. Link main.js. It looks like they want us to use the script tag. So this right here, this is basically linking your JavaScript file to your HTML file. We're going to go ahead and throw it. It looks like they want us to throw it at the end. So we'll go ahead and run that. So now there is our alert right here. So everything's working. It wasn't working before because we hadn't linked the file. So there's our pop-up. There it is again. So a lot of times in JavaScript or jQuery, you'll be targeting IDs and classes. And if you're not familiar with HTML, it may be a good time to actually take a minute, go take the HTML course, and then just come back and finish this last section, or some of this may not make complete sense. So inside index.html, there's a div with the class skill set. So this is a class that is in the CSS that defines this. Let's select this element with the JavaScript. So we're going to go ahead and open up our main.js one more time. So we want to go ahead and say do we want to store it in an element or a parameter? So we're getting rid of the alert, thank goodness, and then create a variable named skill set. So we're going to create a variable, and we're going to actually name it the same thing, skill set, and we want to set it equal to document.getElement by class. And then in here, we put the name of that, which happens to be skill set. So we're targeting this div right now. And we're basically saying it's equal to this class. We're targeting the class, I should say, of which that div seems to be it. What did I do wrong? Oh, by class name. Excuse me. Forgot the name aspect. There we go. Wait. In main.js, delete the alert you wrote, then create a variable skill set and set it equal to the HTML element with class skill set. Document.getElements by ID. Excuse me. I've been doing a lot of jQuery, so these little class names are a lot easier in jQuery, in which you just target this and you're good to go. So I forget the S, elements instead of element. Under skill set, we're going to set an alert that's going to be equal to that variable's pop-up. So this is an example of how we might use this. So we're going to say, look, in our alert, we now want you to display our skill set class that we're defining here. So you see we have an object HTML collection. Pretty cool. It's basically an object in our JavaScript that's equal to the HTML stuff. We'll probably, typically you would never, I can't imagine a world in which you would want to just display this, but more so think of it abstractly. This is us working with the DOM, the document object model. Basically an interaction between the HTML, the CSS, and the JavaScript. Now we're gonna get an introduction to jQuery. jQuery is a JavaScript library that basically is a lot of shorthand JavaScript and makes things a lot more dynamic and easy, especially on an entry level sort of course like this. So we're gonna go ahead and throw this at the bottom here. Let's go ahead and run that. Looks like that didn't load. Why does it keep getting rid of my script? There we go. It wanted us to throw it before our main.js. Alright, now that we've included jQuery, let's go ahead and return to our main.js. Delete or comment out your existing code, then write a function named main. Alright, so we were going to get rid of this. Then we're going to write a function. I should take no parameters, should have an empty block. Alright, so we're going to call function, and we're going to make this main, and there's not going to be anything in it for the time being. Alright, so jQuery, the way jQuery works is you have to ready the document essentially. It basically is saying, this line right here is saying start running jQuery. Typically you might just throw a function in here and not even create this main, but this is another way of doing it as well. I wouldn't do it this way. I would just hit ready. But I guess it's just a matter of preference. So in here we'll load the main. So main is the callback function. Main is the function we're passing in here. It's basically saying, look, when the main.js file loads, this is basically saying when this loads, run this function. As we did a second ago when we get document.getElementById, now, since we're using jQuery, we can do this in a much shorter way. This is equivalent to this. So this is selecting this exact line. So we're selecting this class. Notice that you have to include the class dot and the hashtag for IDs when targeting them using jQuery. So it looks like we're going to be doing this in the main function here. All we're going to do, go ahead and we want to instead target the class using jQuery. And this will be .skillset. And did we want to name this variable? So this isn't required, this right here, but the convention when storing jQuery variables is to use the $sign in here. So just something to keep in mind. Now, this is going to be an introductory to jQuery. There's a whole jQuery course just on Free Code Camp and on CodeCademy, so make sure you take a look at that. It's definitely going to be something you'll probably use quite often. It's considered a entry-level skill that pretty much every web developer should be familiar with jQuery at the very least. Alright, so here we just want to call an alert. Same thing that we did before, except now we're using jQuery to do it. And we're just going to do like so. Just go ahead and run that. So there's our alert again. Exact same thing, just a lot of shorthand and much, much easier. In my opinion. Less code to write. So now it looks like we're moving on to some jQuery built-in methods and functions. We want all our skills to fade in, so inside the main function we're going to delete this an alert that we wrote. All right, so let's get rid of that. Then use jQuery to hide the skill set element. Do this by writing selector skill set. Then attaching .hide to it with the period. All right, so we're just gonna create a variable here, and we'll call it the same thing, skill set, and we're gonna set this equal to the selector dot skill set. And because I'm a little confused about what they're asking, I'm gonna look at there, and it looks like they just want us to hide this. So dot hide. So what this is gonna do now. Or did they not want us to store it in a variable? I don't think they want us to store it in a variable. Okay, so we don't need to store this in a variable. So we're targeting this div, which let's go ahead and pull up our index.html. So this div skill set, we're going to hide this div now. So Broadway move, this should be gone. So let's go ahead and run this. And you'll see it's gone. Our stuff is gone because we're calling the .hide on it. It still exists in theory, but you're not going to be able to see it. This is how you would hide something using jQuery. We also use a function called fade in, which takes in a parameter in milliseconds. So initially we want it to hide, and then after it's hidden, we want to go ahead and target the skill set thing once more, and we want to fade it in. So if you want it to fade in over 1 second, it would be 1,000. So 1 second is 1,000 milliseconds. Let's go ahead and run. You'll see that after it runs, you'll see that it fades in. Cool. So it's starting to make your HTML a little more interactive, a little more cooler, a little more interesting. Let's go with that. Where are my glasses? All right. So now in jQuery, it's a lot easier to use stuff that when you click something, like on click or on, you can target something, and then when you click it, it does some stuff. It runs some code. It executes some code. Under your existing code in the main function, use jQuery to hide elements with the class of project. So we're going to go ahead here, and remember it's a class, so we're projects. So that's why we're using the dot, and then we want to hide it. So anything that has the class projects is going to be hidden. So you see all our projects are gone. So now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and write some jQuery that says when you click this, run a function that does some stuff. So how do we do that? These are our project buttons. We say, look, when you click this, we want you to do some stuff. So these are classes. So we're going to say dot projects dash button dot when you on dot on, basically saying action. When this action, what's the action? The click action. Go ahead and run a function that does some stuff. So what is it that we want to do? It looks like we just want to leave this empty for the time being. So we haven't actually set it for it to do anything, but it looks like we'll probably do that in the next example here. So similar to how hide works, where you hide something, the opposite of that would be show. So in this case, when you click our recent projects, we want to go ahead and show our projects. So that target the projects class and then dot show. Let's go ahead and run this. Once this clears, you'll see what we're going to click around and nothing's going to happen. But now when we click this, there it is. There is our projects. So toggle is similar in which it will go back and forth, as a toggle should. So instead of show, what we want to do is change this and use the .toggle. So when we run this, we can toggle it back and forth. Toggle is actually really important because you can create a lot of cool pages with toggle and show and hide and stuff like that. So keep that in mind when you're like using this to develop your own web page. So next, so you can also toggle a class on and off. So let's go ahead and jump into the CSS. Again, if you're not too familiar with styling, don't sweat it. Just go ahead and jump into the HTML CSS courses on free CodeCamp or CodeCademy and jump on back in. So there's a class called active. Oh, there's not. So it looks like we're going to create it. Let's go ahead and throw it up at the top. So you'll know it's a class by the dot. Just going to run that. Oh, it looks like inside the click function, toggle this class and element. So here's our class. So what we want to do now is toggle some CSS when we click on it. So we can go ahead and say, look, let's target that, and we're going to say dot. We want to change the color of the back. We want to change the color of our button. So we're going to target that. So that's projects dash button dot toggle. Was it toggle class? I believe. Yeah, toggle class. And what do we want to toggle? We want to toggle the .active class. What happened here? What did I do? Oh, I think I forgot this. There we go. Now let's go ahead and run this. And now, once this loads, when we click on our class toggle here, projects dash button, let's see, let's look at our example. Oh, it looks like because the class is in here, we don't actually have to denote it with the dot. I apologize for that. There we go. And then you'll see that this is toggling the CSS class every time we click it. So before, what we were doing was we were setting something that if you click something, if you clicked a projects button, there would be some stuff that would happen. So instead, what we want to do is we want to pass in this. So this right here, just going to do this, run that. This will be the item that you're interacting with. This is the item I'm clicking. Excuse me, and you don't need quotations either because this isn't a class or anything like that. This is a built-in, this is part of the document object model. Cool. So this is the item that we're interacting with. So this is only running when we click this. So it's inheriting the ID essentially. So let's go ahead and we can do this again for projects. We can just pass in this toggle. So projects button is going to inherit that. So this and next to select these projects and attach. What does next do? In order to toggle projects on the list to select one, jQuery is function named next to help us select elements that are next to another element. If we have this in our HTML, we want to hide item 2, we could write next. So this is going to hide multiple things. Is it next.toggle? Yeah, so next goes first. Let's go ahead and do like so. Sorry, I'm not as familiar with next, but it looks like it's going to pass on the value. That's what next does. Alright, so maybe you want to actually change the text with jQuery. That's pretty straightforward. So within there, in our toggle class line, we're going to write some jQuery change text to the button that's clicked to say projects viewed. So what we can do here is we can go this dot text, and then we'll just go ahead and output projects viewed. So this will add the text. I find it very interesting that in an introductory course they decided to throw you into jQuery. I definitely feel like if they went through to make a simpler version of their jQuery course. So you see right here, projects viewed, reach projects viewed, and everything's changing. Very interesting though that they decided to do that. So there's also slide toggle. You'll see that a lot of these things make your website very, very interactive. So it wants us to get rid of this line of code. Let's go ahead and comment it out. 2 slashes. And select the projects element. All right. So we want to target the projects. And we go ahead and do dot projects. And then use slide toggle. Dot slide toggle. And we're going to go ahead and pass in some milliseconds. Let's go ahead and run that. See if we did that correctly. Give it a second to load. Let's see what I did incorrectly here. So we want to utilize this to get the element that was clicked. All right. So let's then use next to get the projects element. All right. So dot next dot projects dot slide toggle. So let's go. I think that's what they wanted. Although I think it inherits it directly, so let's go ahead and try this 1 second. There you go. I think that'll do it. So we're saying this dot next dot slide toggle, and now when we click, you see how it's going a little bit slower there? Another cool feature that you can add. A lot of stuff. So what did we learn in this introductory course, Learn JavaScript? A lot of cool stuff. We learned a little bit about jQuery. We learned a little about how to connect your HTML and CSS. We also learned about several jQuery functions such as show hide, slide toggle. Next, I'm going to have to review. We also learned how to start with document.ready and running the main function in it, or creating a function. But I hope you guys found this helpful. From here, if you're looking for stuff to do, I would suggest doing the CodeCademy course, HTML and CSS. I would then suggest jumping into the JavaScript course. That's not the introductory version. And then I would suggest, once you're done with that, moving on to free CodeCamp. And that will definitely take you up to the next level. So if you're still struggling with the CodeCademy stuff, it may take you a minute to be comfortable in the free CodeCamp stuff, but it will definitely be worth it. As always, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share and support me on Patreon. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching the video. Special thanks to our sponsor, DevMountain. Definitely check them out at devmountain.com. If you're looking for a bootcamp that's in front-end development, iOS, or UX, go ahead and give them a shot. Tuition includes housing, so you can get up and go and fully immerse yourself in the program. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.